clearing close in the forest you'll find a fabulous banquet, a fairy ball. If you close your eyes and you open your mind, the veil disappears and you'll see it all.
Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese, and today's video is one that I've been wanting to do on my channel here for a while, and that is to do with extraterrestrials, aliens, and UFO sightings. Today I'm going to be reading you guys some of people's true encounters with aliens, UFOs, and abductions. And let's just say I have chosen 3 of what appear to be some of the most insane, creepy, but also fascinating experiences. Before I get into today's video though, I would like to thank VIP Kid for sponsoring. With VIP Kids, you can use your bachelor's degree in order to teach kids in China English in a virtual classroom. The hours are super flexible, so you can teach early in the morning before your day starts or late at night after your day has concluded. And VIP Kid provides all of the materials and lessons for you, so it's super easy for you to just jump online and begin teaching, earning up to $22 an hour. So if you have a bachelor's degree and this is something that you'd be interested in doing, definitely go ahead and click the link at the top of my description where you can join up and apply. But without further ado, let's get into these stories because they are relatively long and I just really want to share them with you guys. Now, before I get into reading them, actually, I want to talk about my stance and my view on aliens and UFOs. I have always been somebody who believes 100% that there are aliens. I also believe 100% that they visit us. I mean, I personally think it's a scarier thought to imagine that in this entire galaxy, we are the only life forms. Like, it just doesn't even make sense that we would be. And it also isn't very far-fetched that they may be further advanced and come to Earth to visit us. I've always wanted to do videos about UFOs and extraterrestrials and just like everything to do with that stuff. So if you enjoyed today's video and you want me to talk more about things and different conspiracies surrounding this, I would love to do it, but let's jump into the first story that I've printed out because it is a good one. So like I said, I went online and found people who have shared online their personal experiences. These are said to be 100% somebody's experience, and here we go. I can't say for sure what happened to me that night, but here's what I know. I was driving home for the weekend from school at Indiana University. It takes me about 2 hours to get home, and I left Bloomington around 10 p.m. At exactly 10:53, I am on a stretch on a 2-lane highway. I take home when I notice what appear to be flashing lights behind me. I thought, great, I'm getting pulled over. So I turned onto the next country road about a quarter mile from where I noticed the lights. As the car came to a stop and I started to open my glove box to get out my registration and proof of insurance, the lights just suddenly disappeared and no car drove past. Now here's where the story takes a turn for the weird, and I'm sure you guys will think I'm just making it up, because it really does seem like something straight out of a typical UFO movie or story. The electronics in my car started to go haywire. The radio was randomly changing stations while the volume kept going up and down, while the dome light and headlights start to flicker, turn off, and back on. This was at 10:56 p.m. I start thinking to myself that my battery must be failing or else I have a short somewhere in the electric system of my car. I lean down to pop the hood so I can take a look at the battery, and that is the last thing I remember doing. The next thing I know, I open my eyes and see nothing but the night sky full of bright stars. It was a cold night, and it seemed like I had never seen stars that bright in my life. I sat up and looked around, and I saw absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. I was in the middle of a field surrounded by corn stalks left over from the recent harvest. As I started to come to my senses, I started to freak out. Where am I? Why am I asleep in the middle of a field? Where is my car? I got up and started walking the distant headlights I could see from the road about a half a mile away. When I got to the nearest intersection, I looked at the signs which read 350 north and 50 west. I was half a mile away from my car, which was just off the main road. I started walking towards the headlights I could see on the main road. I can't say how long it took me to walk the half mile, but it couldn't have been more than 10 or 15 minutes. When I arrived at my car, all the lights were out. My battery had died, which struck me as odd because I couldn't have been gone for that long. I looked at my phone, which was sitting on the passenger seat, and the time was 2:17 a.m. Over 3 hours had passed since I turned off on the side road for the flashing lights. I remember sitting in my car completely dumbfounded, wondering what the hell had just happened to me. After a half an hour of just sitting there, I remembered that my battery was dead, so I got on the phone and called AAA to come out and give me a jump. It took about an hour for them to get out to me since I was a good distance away from the nearest town. During this time, I sat in silence, running through all of the possible scenarios in my head concerning what had just happened. To this day, I couldn't tell you what really happened to me that night. All I know is that I can't think of any plausible explanation as to why I woke up over half a mile away from my car in the middle of a cornfield more than 3 hours after I had stopped. I have only shared this story with one other person. I am sure people would either look at me like I'm crazy or they would call BS on the whole story, and I can't blame them. If somebody came to me with a story like that, one that so closely mirrors the stereotypical encounter story, I probably wouldn't believe them either. And that's the first story. So insane. I'm gonna talk a couple theories after. Let's get into the next one. My mom tells a story of her and her friend. Let's call her friend Lisa. When my mom and Lisa were teenagers, they were up on the roof of Lisa's house and they saw a bright light in the sky. Next thing they know, the light is gone. Thing is, they thought they'd been on the roof for 15 minutes, but something like 3 hours had passed. My mom doesn't remember anything about what happened during that time, and Lisa simply refused to talk about it. She would answer my mom with things like, I don't know, and just drop it for a long time. A couple months later, my mom moved away and lost contact with Lisa for about 10 years. She finally met up with her again and immediately noticed something is odd about Lisa. She appeared very distant to her and with a very dreamy demeanor, like she was really happy and at peace for no good reason. After they talk a bit, Lisa brings up the incident on the roof. My mom says she still doesn't remember anything about it, but Lisa remembers. She remembers everything. She said that at first it was all just in bits and pieces, and she couldn't remember any of it clearly. She was confused, scared, and wanted to avoid discussing it. Then, as time passed, she began to remember more of it. She remembers it all clearly, and she remembers the other 3 times she was abducted after that clearly as well. At first, they paralyzed her somehow, and they did all sorts of invasive experiments on her. But by the most recent time, they stopped probing her and began to talk with her. They didn't speak English or any other human language, but she could understand everything they said, though she couldn't speak their language herself. Apparently, they told her all sorts of things, stuff about space, Earth itself, and most shockingly, predicted years beforehand that she would get pregnant in a specific year and it would be stillborn, that she would never be able to have children again. They told her that it was not their fault, and they even made an attempt to save her from this fate, but they were unsuccessful. They also told her that they had abducted my mother another time after that first incident. My mom says she has no recollection of any other abductions, but she does have reoccurring nightmares about being abducted, and she's almost sure though that they're just that, nightmares. Anyway, Lisa tells my mom that every time she speaks with them, she comes to understand the truth more and more. When my mom inquires what the truth is, Lisa says, you will know eventually. And she says that once she learned of the truth, everything became wonderful. My mom has seen her a few more times over the years. We still live in another state from her, and she apparently has a pretty normal life and doesn't obsess over alien stuff. She only ever brings it up in passing, so it's not the central part of her daily life. And that's the end of story number 2. I think it's really strange in that story that they predicted the future. Maybe they've grasped the concept of time travel, I don't know. And here's the final one, and this one I skimmed and it freaked me out the most. Before I tell my story, I'd like to say that I'm a complete skeptic and question anything and everything supernatural. I think extraordinary claims should always require extraordinary evidence. Even to this day, I will never be able to prove what I experienced. I am currently 26 years old. This happened on June 16th, 2007. I remember it vividly. It was immediately embedded into my long-term memory when it all happened. In psychology, I believe they refer to these events as flashbulb memories. Anyways, I was living in my parents' home at the time. It was a pretty stormy night. The wind was gusting slightly more than usual. Rain was coming down violently, your typical crackles of thunder and lightning. I was playing World of Warcraft at the time. enjoying the idea that I had a legitimate excuse not to go out and do anything. I was about to finish one of the longest chain quests in the game when the internet goes out. I tried for about 30 anxious minutes to get the internet to work, and you guessed it, nothing. I head to my room frustrated. Here I am, home alone, no internet, irritated as hell. My parents at the time were out at a work-related event. I remember laying on my bed and staring at the ceiling. I turned my head to look at my old retro alarm clock. It read 6:18 p.m. Knock, knock, knock. I immediately sprung up, eyes wide open, startled as hell. I crawled to my window that faces the front of my door, and knock, knock, knock again. I peek outside my window to see 3 tall men literally dressed in your typical FBI-looking black suits. One had what looked like to be a folder/file of something. I head to the door, not really thinking much of it. I honestly thought they were church people soliciting their beliefs. I open the door. The one man nearest the door who was knocking greets me in a very monotone voice, pulls out a badge and says he and his colleagues need to check the water source from the house faucets. I asked them a bunch of questions. It turns out they were in fact the FBI and someone had allegedly tried to poison the city water. I called my parents to let them know what was going on. They okayed the situation. The guys in the suits didn't even check the water in my house. They had some other group of government guys show up and check. I tried to ask if there was a motive or if it was a terrorist act. They simply said they could not talk about it in detail. Then out of nowhere, all the lights in the house go out. It's pitch black. The guys in suits tell everyone to stay calm. They think it's just a power outage. The guys taking water samples turn on their flashlights. As one of the flashlights flashes over the tallest of the suited men, I see a reflection from his face. There was metal under his face. The guy with the flashlight quickly directs the light somewhere else. A moment later, the guy with the flashlight says, "Sir, it has begun." The suited guy turns it on. One of the suited guys turns it on. The thing just starts going haywire. Not even 3 seconds later, it felt as if I was being pulled into a million different directions. I could not see anything at first, just excruciating pain. I thought I was in the process of being disintegrated alive. Out of nowhere, I see nothing but white. I literally thought I was in what religious people call heaven. A man appears to me and smiles, swinging his arms in an inviting way as if I were entering a ballroom dancer party. I try to walk, but nothing. Then the white room gets sucked into itself, and I literally see my life flash before my eyes. Disneyland at 5, my first kiss at 15, watching 9/11 happen, everything. I see Earth suspended in space. I am watching Earth from above, and then I fall. I am falling, heart racing, numbness, disbelief. I see the ground getting closer and closer. I know this is it. I know I will die, but before I hit the ground, I hear the monotone of the suited man in my head. Do not, static and white noise, no matter what. I woke up in my bed with a cold sweat and panic. I freaked out and ran downstairs to find my parents cooking dinner. I run back upstairs and see the time is 6:22 p.m. I was relieved to find out it was a dream, but it gets creepy. I go back downstairs and ask my parents when they get home. They told me they've been home, as it was their day off. I asked how their company event went, and they said that it was last week. I asked them how and what time I fell asleep. They told me they didn't even know I was sleeping. I go to my computer and find that my World of Warcraft account was logged on where I left off before the internet went down. I check my computer and the date is the 23rd. I have no memory of a full week. I try to recall what happened in my dream, but it was just a blur. I go back upstairs and see that it looked like someone went through my closet. I search around and freak out. The exact outer of the file the alleged FBI agent was holding is in my closet, empty and nothing on it. I have never told anyone about this until now. I still have the file and I don't know what to do with it. I've since spent the last decade trying to put the pieces together. I just live day by day as an ordinary person, hoping they don't return. So those are 3 of the real life experiences people shared online about what they believe were alien and UFO encounters. Now, one thing I've noticed that all 3 of these stories have in common is the loss of time. And that's a really, really common symptom of people who claim they were abducted by aliens or they experienced witnessing a UFO. I don't really know what to say about these stories. They sound absolutely freaky, but at the same time, they don't sound that unbelievable if you're somebody who's researched into aliens and alien abductions. What do you guys think of these 3 stories? What do you think took place, and what And do you believe in aliens and UFOs? While we're on the topic of answering questions for me, please let me know in the comments below if you guys would ever want me to do an alien / UFO conspiracy theory video, or discussing more true events or things like that here on my channel. I know I've never done it before, but it is something that interests me, and it is the unbelievable. And here on this channel, the Reese's Pieces believe in the unbelievable, so I thought, why not? I just once again want to say thank you so much to VIP Kid for sponsoring today's video, and I hope that if it's something that interests any of you, that you would go ahead and click that link in the description. And that is it for today's video. If you're new to my channel, or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, I would love it if you would go ahead, click that subscribe button, join the Reese's Pieces, and please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. It makes my heart super happy. I know that sounds so corny because I say it every time, but it truly does. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time,